Listen to your body. Take a breath and listen to your body. Where does it hurt? Where is the tension? Is it your jaw, maybe, or your brain, or your shoulders, or your stomach? Where do you hold your anxiety, your anger? When you locate it in your body, give it a number, 1 to 10. 10 is a lot. Put your hand right there for a second over the place where it hurts. It all belongs. Those are all questions we get from our doctors. I've been going to physical therapy and wearing a boot the past couple weeks because I was diagnosed with what they call turf toe. Only a non-jock like me could get a common football injury. But can I just say, it hurt like hell. For a couple of days, it hurt like hell. An awareness of our bodies, being mindful of our bodies, paying attention to what is happening in our bodies is huge. It's used to being healthy and to being healed. To miss the signals our body is always giving us can lead to worse issues down the road. Ignoring our bodies, warning to us as they occur, can actually lead to death. There are a lot of apps these days for relaxing and for calming out there. It's not hard to find one. Some people turn them on in the middle of the night when they can't fall back asleep. Some people throughout the day as the stress builds up. There's a lot of opportunities out there to calm our bodies once we locate the tension, the stress, the anxiety, the hurt. They ask the same questions our doctors do. They begin with an awareness of our bodies. Where does it hurt? Listen to your body. Start there. But don't stop there. At least not today. Today is the feast of Corpus Christi, the feast of the body of Christ. The body of Christ. The body that is the human family across the earth. The body that is the body of Christ, the universal church. The body will always teach us. The body will always teach us if we pay attention. People of color are struggling mightily right now. It is the accumulation of over 400 years of being looked down on, ignored, and even worse, murdered. Anxiety and fear they live with day after day after day that they know well, and now we all perhaps are more aware of than ever. How could we not be? Oh, we may all know about it, but if we are not a person of color, it's too easy to look the other way. Distract ourselves from it all, not feel it. People of color can easily be invisible to white people. Easily invisible. But that doesn't work if you happen to have been born black in this country, and perhaps every country. They have been traumatized traumatized again and again and again. Their mental health is on the line. They live in a society that throws so much garbage at them all the time if they just happen to have been born black. There is such a thing as institutionalized discrimination. It can be so subtle, you don't even know it's happening around you, or that you're even adding to it yourself. It can be that subtle, and sometimes not so subtle. They know it. They know it. They know it in their bodies, in their black bodies. They know it. In the tensions they live with when their kids go out every night, even afraid of the police. The only time I've ever been afraid of the police is when I see those red lights pulling up behind me on the highway. I'm only worried about getting a ticket. Can you imagine what an 18-year-old black young man might fear when those same red lights come up behind him on the highway and he gets pulled over and that policeman comes to his window? See this violence over and over and over again on social media and out their front windows. Black moms and dads have to tell their black 10-year-old sons and even daughters to keep their nose down, don't look up, don't argue, and take whatever they give you. Or what they themselves saw for 8 minutes and 46 seconds that could be them next. And don't think they did not see that. All 8 minutes and 46 seconds over and over again of that. My white friends, can you even imagine having a rite of passage in your home for your 10-year-old son that means having the talk with him? The talk for me was very different than that. It ain't right. It ain't right that parents have to warn their sons like that. Repeated exposure to trauma. Repeated exposure to trauma eats away at the insides of black people. It would any of us. And this accumulates. It accumulates over time from generation to generation. Every generation traumatized again and again by white, and in some ways the rest of us are only beginning to see this now. That is exposure to trauma that even little kids should not have to hear about, but they have to hear about it. Repeated exposure to this stuff traumatizes all of us now. I've been with black families and around the dinner table, and I swear every person without exception around that table was able to tell me some horrifying story that was passed on to them, if not their own personal experience, passed on by their great-grandparents. They told stories of grandparents and parents and their kids and their relatives and their next-door neighbors, passed on from one generation to the next. And they also saw it with their own eyes. They see it out that front window. How can it not affect them? How can it not affect their mental health? There is a wear and tear, my friends. There is a wear and tear that accumulates in people who are exposed to repeated and chronic stress. The negative effects of all that will never all the way go away. But those negative effects can be reduced, especially when that 10-year-old black young man sees white people truly caring about them right now. This is an opportunity to broaden this table around which the body of Christ gathers. All of us right now are getting a firsthand look at what Black people are exposed to all the time. And it's horrible stuff. People like that never stop worrying. This is where it hurts in the human family. This is where the body of Christ is hurting. This is the hurting part of the body of Christ, of the world and all of its humanity, which, as you know, affects all of us, all of us. I told you about my turf toe. It wasn't long before, it was within hours, actually, of favoring that foot and walking on the side of that heel that threw my back out in a way that I don't usually feel pain in my spine and in my shoulder and in my other foot. And I would get this cramp in my calf that would make me literally jump out of bed in the night. It was so painful. St. Paul says it well when he says, when one part of the body is hurting, the whole body is affected. And that's true right now for the human family. We're seeing it affect all of us in these unparalleled demonstrations and protests across the country and the world right now. Pay attention, my friends. Pay attention to what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Be mindful of what you're thinking and feeling, the thoughts that pass through your mind when you see somebody or you don't. As I point out right now in this reflection, as I point out this hurting place in the body of Christ, that we all are together, did you find yourself tensing up somewhere? Did you find yourself pushing back? Did you find yourself and in your brain saying, well, what about, well, how come, but they... Did you find yourself raising some inner protest to some of the things I was saying? Because listen to your body. Where's the resistance, the pushback, the resentment over all this? It deserves your attention. Not your guilt, but your attention. As we pay attention ourselves to this tension in our own bodies and where we hold it, and treat it with compassion and remembering that it all belongs, should we as well not let ourselves feel the suffering of the larger body of Christ, the human family, the church? And put the hand of our heart over theirs and treat it with compassion? Missing what your body is telling you could cost you your life, and for sure your peace of mind. Missing what the body of Christ is telling you could lead to riots and all sorts of destruction, with even more human lives lost. Listen to your body. Listen to the body of Christ. For God's sake.